Okay, today's video tutorial is going to be on Adobe Audition, and I'm just going to show some of the basics of the layout and some things like that here, how to manage your projects, things like that. So right now, while recording this video tutorial, I'm using a Blue Yeti microphone. It's a USB microphone, and I'm doing a QuickTime screen capture here. And right now the AC is blasting right next to me, and my computer's pretty old, so there's some fan noise coming in. So if you listen carefully to this tutorial, the sound quality is not going to be great on this. And so when recording VO for your projects, just be sure that the AC is turned off. And if you have a noisy computer like mine, you might need to kind of put like a blanket in between the microphone and your computer, kind of take some measures to soundproof your room and make sure that it's silent before you start. And so just kind of keep that in mind here, and I'll show you how to kind of go into your settings and change that kind of stuff. You're going to be recording your voiceover in different ways depending on your situation here. So if any of you have something like a Blue Yeti microphone or something like that, that might be a good solution. Some of you might want to use a Zoom handheld recorder, in which case you'll be recording into an SD card onto that and then importing it into Adobe Audition or something like that. So you'll be going through a slightly different process. And it just kind of depends on what tools you plan to use in terms of how you're going to record here. So when you open Adobe Audition, let me just, move that out of the way. It should look something like this when you open it up. And the way that this project generally works here is we're going to have to, the first step that you want to do here is you're going to look towards this kind of top area. This section right here is kind of like the project folder. So new files, new audio recordings, new sessions show up in this project window right here. And the main other window that we're going to be dealing with is the main editor window right here. Those are kind of the two main areas of concentration, as well as the toolbar right here. And so when you're creating a new session, you can either press this button right here to create a new multi-track session, or you can go up to File, New, and then Multi-Track Session right there. And this window will come up, in which case you can name it. So I'll just call this VO Demo. And I'm going to save this onto my desktop, since this is just kind of a demonstration right here, but you can browse on your computer and save your project folder or your project directory anywhere you want on your computer here. And we're not going to do a template here. I like just to kind of go with no template, and then 32-bit stereo, 48,000 hertz. These are all good settings here to work with, so you don't really need to change anything in this area. And so when I press OK, it's going to create a 6 audio track session here, this empty. All right, so I press OK here, and so now we kind of have a project that we can start with right here. You can see in the project folder, it it created the session. So remember, I named it VO Demo, and then it's a .sesx, and I'll just go ahead and save here, and you'll see if I minimize Adobe Audition that Adobe Audition created this project directory folder right here. So everything that kind of belongs in your project will import into this folder. So when I click on it, the only thing I've done is created a session, so that's the only thing in there, but we'll kind of be checking back in on this project directory as we move forward with this demo. We'll see it'll get populated with files that we import into the project, and then the voiceover that I record will kind of show up here. And so in the future, when you're moving your project around, let's say you want to save it onto an external hard drive, what you're going to want to do eventually is going to take this whole project directory and move it into, whatever external hard drive or wherever you're moving it, instead of just grabbing this session file and dragging it in. Because if you just grab this session file and drag it into another external hard drive, you're going to lose all your work, because when you're working on Adobe Audition, it's referencing the audio files and things like that that it'll create that will fit into this folder. So again, long story short, this whole folder right here that it created, you're going to want to kind of use as your working file when you're saving it and moving it to other hard drives and things like that. So we've created the session. It's right here. It's 6 tracks, and I'm doing my cursor right now and it's shrinking it like this so you can kind of see them all right there. You can also press, let's see here, this button right here to shrink it, and then this to kind of expand out the tracks right there, so you can kind of do either one. And so it's got 6 tracks, 6 audio tracks, and then 1 mixed down track. And I don't really need 6 tracks, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select track 6, go up to multi-track, tracks, and delete that track. And I'll just do this a few times. So track 5, multi-track, tracks, delete selected track. There's also a shortcut for it, which I'm bad at remembering here. Let's see here. You can also duplicate tracks and add new stereo tracks, new blank stereo tracks, or new mono tracks right here. So they're adding, deleting, duplicating tracks you can all do under multi-track, track, and under this menu right here. But again, I'm just kind of deleting some tracks right now just to kind of simplify some things here. And for what I'm going to do today, I only really need 2 tracks to demonstrate this. So I got our mixed down track right here. We have track 2, and I'm going to import like some music into that or something. And then track 1, I'm going to record off of this Blue Yeti microphone into this track right here. So the way that these tracks work is right here, this knob right here is the volume of a track right here. And if you just put it at 0, it'll be kind of at its default state right there. This knob right here is panning left to right, so if I pan it all the way this way, any audio that'll be in that track will be panned all the way to your left speaker. And then if I pan it all the way, if it'll let me, pan it all the way this way, it'll be panned all the way to my right speaker. And if it's at R100, or if you just type in 100, it'll be panned all the way to the right. And if you type in -100, it'll be panned all the way to the left. And most of the time you're going to want the center. You're usually not going to want to mess with this, particularly for a project like this where we're just doing VO and music. You just want it panned into the center right here. So looking at some more of these buttons right here, we have mute. So if you have this selected, this track will be muted when you play it back. This button right here is solo, meaning that it'll be the only track that you hear. So let's say you have 2 audio tracks that are recorded in here, and you press S right here on the track 1, that means you won't be able to hear any of the other tracks that are in the scene, just track 1. And then this button right here is record arm. And so if you want to record audio onto a track, you're going to need to press this R button right here in order to arm it to record. And if you want to record audio onto a track and you have your microphone set up, you'll be pressing this button down here, record, and it'll start recording. But before I press that button, I want to make sure that my microphone's set up correctly. So I'll go up to, again, I'm using a Blue Yeti microphone right now, which is just a standard USB mic. And so what I'll do is I'll go up to Adobe Audition, Preferences, and I will go to Audio Hardware right here. And under Preferences, you're just going to want to make sure that the default input is the microphone that you want to be using right here. I would highly encourage you not, if you're on a MacBook Pro or something like that, I would highly encourage you not to use the MacBook Pro microphone, because any fan noise, things like that will come in, and it's not a, right now it's not a good microphone. So in this case, I'm using the Yeti stereo microphone, and that was already set up, so I'm just going to back out of that. And the buffer size, this has to do with kind of latency, and 512 is okay. 512 is fine for this. And you can boost up these settings, particularly if your computer is powerful here. Since I'm doing a screen capture right now, I kind of don't want to mess with it because the screen capture slows down my computer a good amount. And then sample rate, you're going to want it to be 48,000. So all this is just kind of the default that I'm doing here. And so once that's set up, I'll press OK. And continuing just to look through this panel to understand it here is, you can see here that I'm selecting different tracks right now. So I'm selecting track 1, and if I hover my cursor right there, I can expand it out and make it bigger right here. these little power buttons right here, if you press this arrow right next to it, you can add audio effects to your audio. So we don't want to do any of that now because we haven't recorded anything yet. And it's something you might want to experiment with. I'll kind of dive into it a little bit here, but I'm not going to go too crazy with it. Continue to go through this this window right here. You can kind of zoom in and out of your scene by grabbing this handle right here. You can see right here that I'm zoomed way in on the time, and then I can drag out like that to zoom back out. Additionally, the shortcut for this is if you press minus on your keyboard, it will, it might need audio in there first. Oh, sorry. If you press plus on your keyboard, it'll zoom in right here. So I'm zooming in on the audio just by pressing the plus button, and then if I press minus, it'll zoom out. It wasn't working for me initially because I was already zoomed all the way out on my scene right here. So you can either grab this handle right here or press the plus or minus button. Additionally, you can use some of these shortcuts right here. So the plus right here will zoom in, and then zoom out is the minus button right here. And on my keyboard, the plus button is the equals button. So for their zoom in, it says equals right there, but it should also be the plus button if you're on a laptop like I am right here. And then just reminding again that this button right here will kind of make your tracks small. So if you're kind of losing track of all your tracks, it'll make them small vertically. If you want to see more of the tracks, you can press this button right here and it'll make them much larger so you can kind of see your audio right there. So let's go ahead and just kind of record some audio on this Yeti microphone here. So I'm going to record arm track 1 right here by pressing that button. And then I'm going to press this button to start recording. So I'll record right here, and you can see that my audio is coming in on the scene here. I'm trying to kind of keep my mouth pretty close to the microphone here, not right up on it, but maybe anywhere kind of like 3 to 6 inches kind of thing. And so that I'm right above the microphone. And I'm just going to make a noise right there. And then I'm pressing spacebar or tapping spacebar to stop the recording, or you could press the stop button right there. And keep in mind, again, I'm not recording in an ideal environment right now. There's a ton of noise going on right now. So let's listen back to this. I'll listen back to this section right here. And so that I'm right above the microphone. And I'm just going to make a noise right there. Okay. And so to move around, I'm using the trackpad, just left to right, to kind of move through this audio right here. You can see I can grab this cursor here and then tap spacebar, or press the play button right here to play back audio right there. And I don't want to go too deep into effects here, but I'm going to show one effect here in a moment here. But before I do that, I just want to take note here that we're on track 1, and I recorded that audio right here, and it created this WAV file in our project folder called track 1, recording 1 right there. And so I'll save that. And I'll just go over here. I'll drag my cursor past it, and I'm on record arm. So the track is armed, and I'll record again. And let's see here, I'm just going to make it quick. Press spacebar to stop the recording. And look here, track 1, we have recording 2 showing up right there. So those are different WAV files showing up. And so I'm going to go up to Adobe Audition and then go to File, Save. And I'm going to minimize Adobe Audition right here and go back to our project directory I was showing at the beginning here. And if I double click on this, you'll see there's a new folder that was created. Remember, this project directory used to be blank. It used to just have the Audition session right here. But now this new folder is created where those 2 WAV files and then kind of a reference file were created in there. And so our session is, how do I say this, doesn't have those WAV files embedded into it, it's sourcing them. So it's created this directory, and I bet you, if I take this file and I drag it out, so I took that second recording and I just kind of moved it to the wrong place on purpose here. And let's see what happens here when I go to Adobe Audition. And So you can see here that the project, I kind of closed it down real quick and opened it again, and you can see that file is missing. I have this error message, and it's asking me to link the media. So I can either relink the media by clicking here and trying to find it on the computer and bringing it back in, or I can hopefully just quit Audition, and I'm just not going to save, and drag my audio file back into the correct place where it was initially created, and then open Adobe Audition again, if I can find it. And hopefully when I open it up again here, there we go, you can see the audio file's back and it's working again. Okay. And so let's say that on track 2, I want to import a music file. So I'll click on track 2 and highlight it just by clicking on the tab that's right to the left of it. And then I'll go into this folder and go to File, up at the top, File, Import, Import File. And this is kind of in another area on my computer right here, but I just have some stock audio that I know won't get flagged by YouTube here. So I'm just going to import that. And you can see it imported that. It's called dub stock audio, and it's a WAV file. And if I want to bring that into the session on track 2, I can just click it, drag it, and then I can either put it at the beginning or I can put it later on right there. And now, oh, whoops, let me make sure I'm zoomed all the way out and drag it to the beginning right there. I'm trying to kind of keep... Right, so we have an audio file right there. And if I go to File, Save, and so that error message right there was saying that this audio file was located outside of my project directory, and it was asking me, do you want to import or duplicate it and then bring a version of it into your project directory? And you definitely want to press yes to that. And so I'll just save again just to make sure it's okay. And I'll minimize this. And now you can see right here in our project directory, if I double click it, that a new folder was created where it imported audio files, and it created that duplicate, and everything we need in our scene is located in this project directory. All right, so I'll go back to Adobe Audition, and I'm going to mute this music track just by clicking mute right there. And let's talk about some audio editing right here. So let's say, for instance, I'm right. So you can hear a lot of noise in there, hopefully, right there. And ideally what you want to do is record where that noise isn't there. And I'm going to show a technique here, which might be familiar to people who've worked in music and things like that before. And I'm going to create an audio effect that'll hopefully get rid of some of that noise. It's not ideal, but it's just a way to help fix it right here. So I'm going to add a new audio effect. And so I'm on track 1, right? And if you can't see these little power buttons with the arrows next to them, you can either kind of drag your cursor if you're on a computer, or sorry, on a laptop, or you can press this button right here to expand it out a little bit more. And I'm going to click on this arrow right here, and I'm going to add a compression effect, which is compression is called dynamics right here. So I click on this little arrow right here, go to amplitude and compression, and go to dynamics right there. And so we got 3 tabs right here. I'm not going to go fully into all this stuff because it gets pretty complicated, but there's an effect right here called auto gate. And what auto gate is how do I say this, is it cuts off the audio if it's only at a certain volume right here. And so right now it's set to -20. Let me play this back right now. And so that I'm okay. And let me turn it off. And so that, can you hear how the noise is getting cut out right here? So this is with the audio effect off. And so that, okay. And I'm going to turn it back on again. And so that So what it's doing right there is when it's showing up red, the audio is getting cut out, and when it's green, the audio is coming through. And depending on how much noise you have, how loud your voice is showing up in your file, you might need to take the threshold down or up a little bit. So I'm going to bring the threshold all the way down. And so see how it's green? So the audio is passing through all the time when the threshold's down. And what you want to do is kind of good at the beginning, but see, the threshold's still not high enough. That noise is still getting through. So I'm going to drag up the threshold some more. So that's pretty good at -19 right now for me. And what the attack and the release does is it makes it so that when it transitions from red to green, that transition can be a little slower and so the attack means how quickly the effect sets in, and then the release is how quickly it releases out of the effect. Let me set the attack to really long just to hopefully show that. It's not really. So you can hear on the attack it didn't really do too much, but on the release you can hear that audio fading, the noise fading out. Right. And so you want to find a nice balance here where it's not too abrupt and it's not too gradual. So that's pretty decent. So that's pretty helpful right there. So I feel like that's probably the main effect for this project you want to worry about. If you want to get a little more advanced too, you can add compression. So what compression does is if any of these peaks right here get too loud, let's do these claps. If you want to if you want to kind of level out your audio so that things aren't really soft at one point and then really loud at another point, what you do is you add compression right here. And so with compression, we have the threshold where the effect starts to take place. And compression is kind of a complicated thing to describe for anyone who's never worked in audio before. So very optional right here. I just kind of want to introduce you to the idea of it right here. And I'm just going to make the noise. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to set the threshold. I'm going to set it pretty low. And I'm just going to make the... Let's see if I can... And I'm just going to make the noise. Oh, right. Let's see here. And I'm just going to make the noise. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is you need to set a ratio. And I'm not going to go into what a ratio is because that'll take me all day to get through that. But just set it at 2 or 4 for what we're doing here. I'll set it to 4. And I'm just going to... 2 will be less extreme, 4 will be kind of more compression. And with compression, you're trying not to blast your project with a ton of compression right here. And so you just want this meter just to kind of show up. Just kind of, these are called decibels right here. And so we're at 0, and compression is how much is kind of cutting down the audio. So we're at 0 right here, and then -12 right here. And you kind of want it to be in like the 4 to 5 to 6 range right here. And I'm just going to make the noise. Okay, so that's pretty good. And what compression is doing essentially is it's taking the loudest noises and it's kind of cutting out that volume a little bit so that if you're showing this project to somebody, they're not getting like blasted by a loud sound all the moment and scaring them, you know, with an unintentional loud sound. It's kind of leveling things out. And so with the attack and release, we're not going to get too much into that here today, but we might want to make up some of the audio that's getting cut out right here. And so the main thing you want to do is just set this to 2 or 4. If you want it to be more subtle, you can set it to 2. And I'm just going to make the noise. You want to adjust the threshold until when you're playing back the audio is kind of showing up in this kind of 4 to 6 range. And I'm just going to make a noise. And then you might want to make up some of the audio. And so this is just making it a little louder again by decibels. So I'm cutting off, 3 or 4 decibels. So I might just add some of those decibels back up. And you might be wondering why I'm doing that. And it's just, again, this is leveling out the audio so it's all feeling more equal. I'm right above the microphone. And I'm just going to make a noise. Do you hear how those claps aren't kind of so aggressive anymore? Let me just... It's kind of leveling things out. So anyway, this is kind of, the dynamics is kind of a little bit of a deep dive here for anyone who kind of wants to get advanced with it. But I'll just kind of turn these off for the moment right here. Or you can turn it off by pressing that button right there to turn off and on the dynamics again. So I'll close it out. And we can hear it with the dynamics off. So the dynamics are off right now. And remember, we did gate and compression. I'm right above the microphone. And I'm just going to make a noise. Okay, now I'm going to turn it back on. I'm right above the microphone. And I'm just going to make a noise. So you can see I used the gate to cut out some of that noise, that room noise, the air conditioner, and then I used the compression just to kind of level out the sound just a little bit here. So continuing to move through this. We have these tools up here, and I'm not going to get too deep into these, but we just have the main selection tool, the move tool right here, and then we have the razor cut tool right here. So let's say I have those claps and I want to get rid of them. You can use the razor tool by clicking it or pressing R, and then I can just cut right there, and then go back to my move tool, which is V, select it, and delete out that section right there. I can expand out or contract my audio just by grabbing towards the bottom where this red parentheses kind of shows up right there, and kind of find crop areas right there. And if you want to fade in and out of your audio clips right here, you see these boxes that are right here that are the diagonal gray boxes right here. If you grab on it and you drag it, you can see that little yellow line being created. That's fading in the audio and then fading out the audio. And since I have the gate on, it's kind of doing that for me already a little bit. So I'm going to turn off my dynamics so you can hear this a little bit better. I'm going to do this gradually right here. So this is going to be a long fade. And I'm just going to make a noise. You hear how it faded out? Right there. So if you want to fade in and out your audio, you can just, again, grab these handles and you can fade it in and out right there by doing that. Additionally, we can unmute the music track. So we're back on track 2 right here. And so I can unmute it. And I'll press the minus button to zoom back out. And again, we can do that same thing to fade it in and out. Just make sure if you're not seeing the gray boxes to fade in and out, make sure that your audio track is selected, and then hopefully it'll show up and you can do a fade out right there and a fade in. I'll record right here, and right. And so that audio right now is pretty loud, right? So if we want to take that, and I'm just unarming my audio track to make sure I don't record onto it again. If I want to take the music track down, I just grab on this. This is the volume level right there. Right here. And you can see that my audio is... I can drag it up a little. Coming in on the scene here. I'm trying to... So that's how you kind of make it louder or softer right there. And once you kind of have this, those are kind of the main controls that you need for this. If you're not seeing these effects right here, you can make sure that this button and this button are pressed right here. So you can see right here, if this button is selected, we can see kind of some of the main controls right here. But if you're not seeing the effects, just make sure that this button's selected right there. I showed dynamics, and there's more effects, like you can add reverbs and delays and things like that. But I would concentrate way more on keeping your project organized and creating good editing and creating good recording environments to begin with before you start, rather than kind of messing too much, going too far down the effects rabbit hole here. And so when you're ready to export your audio, you can just save, and then I'll select everything just by dragging and selecting from the bottom corner like that. And then I'll go to File, Export, and it's the multi-track mix down. And you want to do the entire, you can either do the selected clips like I'm just doing there, or you can just do the entire session, and the entire session will just export a WAV file that's however long your audio clips go for. So if you have kind of a session like this and you want to export just what's there, you can export the whole session. But let's say that this is actually the only audio I want to export are these two right here. Oops, sorry. These two right here, and I want to trim those off. You can go to File, Export, Multi-Track Mixdown, and then just the selected clips. So you kind of have your choices there. I'll do the entire session for this. So this window will come up. You can name it. I'll just VO Demo Mixdown sounds good to me. The location is, let's set it so it's at it's going to another project. So I want to browse, and I want to export this onto my desktop under my project folder right there, and I'll save it into there. So everything will just be under that same project folder. And all this is fine. I don't really need to mess with any of these settings. I'm just trying to set the location. The default is a WAV file, which is great. WAV files are perfect. So I'll press OK. And this is a really simple track, so it'll mix it down pretty quickly. And I'll minimize this. And when I go back to my project directory, hopefully it exported into here. And you can see right here, I have the reference file, and then I have the WAV file right there. I'll record right here, like 3 to 6. And so we have the WAV file. And so this WAV file is now ready to bring into your Premiere project for full video editing.